Okay, so I can put it up on YouTube for us. Okay. So division word problems should be at the top of your paper for our notes today. Remember, if Ms. Neville goes too fast for any part, I'm recording this lesson so that you can go back and watch it on your own time. Okay? So, division word problems. When we're looking at practicing with division and remainders, it's important that we follow 4 steps. Divide. Divide, step 1. Multiply, step 2. Subtract, step 3. Bring down, and start all over. Step 4 and repeat. Okay, so let's look at our first problem here. We have 341 divided by 6. So I want to remind myself, because I'm not a pro with long division yet, and I'm not using a calculator, to put my multiplication sign in the corner. It reminds me of to complete my second step there. Okay, so I want to look here and I want to see how many times can I evenly divide 341 into 6. That's going to be a pretty big number for me to have to use trial and error with. So instead, what I want to do is look at 34. In other words, 6 times what will come closest to equaling 34 without going over? Please turn on your mic and tell us what would be this number here.
30.
Yep. So 6 times something equals 30. And what's that number, Jalen?
Oh, 5.
5. So I'm going to write 5 above my 4. Notice where Miss Neville's writing it. And 6 times 5, step 2, is 30. So I've done my first and second step, or my first step. Now my second step is to multiply. And Jackson, unmute yourself. What 2 numbers am I multiplying? Jackson, unmute yourself and tell us, what numbers am I multiplying?
6 and 5.
6 times 5. And 6 times 5 is 30. My step 3 is to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 34 minus 30. And that's going to be 4. That's my difference. And then my is to my next digit, 1. So now I'm asking myself, I'm starting all over again. 6 times what will come closest to equaling 41 without going over? Anyone unmute yourself and tell us what that number would be?
6.
Very good. So 6 times 6 is going to come closest to equaling 41 without going over. So I'm going to write my 6 here. My step 2 is to multiply 6 times 6. That's going to equal 36. My third step there is to subtract. And what is 41 minus 36? Someone unmute themselves and tell us.
35.
41 minus 36 is not 35. Let's do it together. If I have $41 and I spend 36 of those dollars, I can't take 6 from 1. So I'll have to borrow from the 4. That turns into a 3. That makes the 1 and 11. And 11 minus 6 is 5. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So because I don't have any more digits to pull down, this is the remaining. These are remaining. So the 5 will be my remainder. The 5 will be my remainder. So my quotient or my answer here is 56 with a remainder of 5. So let's keep it moving. Let's look at a word problem. I'll give you a second to finish writing this down. Let's look at a word problem here. Okay, so when we're breaking down a word problem, there's some key words we want to look for. Okay, and I'm going to highlight them. Please write this example down. You only are going to need to write down this one because we're going to be doing some underlining and highlighting with our special pen or pencils or colors. So number 1, a teacher asks some students to organize a box of 37 quoits by hanging them in 3s on some hooks. Or maybe that's hooks, rings. Let's say rings. So a teacher asks some students to organize a box of 37 rings by hanging them in groups of 3s on some hooks. How many hooks are needed? So there's some things I want to write down and highlight here. 37 rings in groups of 3s on hooks. How many hooks will I need? So these are the questions that are being asked here. I'm being asked to divide them, okay, because I'm putting a whole number into smaller groups of 3. So I'm dividing them evenly. So the question that we have to answer here is, how many hooks will we need? I'll give you a second to finish writing that down, and then we're going to go to solving. So we've got our division house here. Which of these numbers is my dividend, or the number that goes inside of the house? Unmute yourself and let us know.
37.
37. And which number is my divisor?
3.
3. So I'm dividing 37 rings into groups of 3. And the quotient here, the answer to this division problem, will tell me how many hooks I need. So I'm going to put my multiplication sign here. Please go ahead and solve this for me. Remember our steps: divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. So how many hooks will they need?
I got 12 with the remainder of 1.
So let's talk about what that means then. That means they'll need 12 hooks, but I still got a ring that needs a hook. So I won't need 12 hooks. I'll actually need 13. I'll need 13 because that last hook has to be able to be, or that last ring will need to be able to be on a hook as well. So I said 13, and let's write out why so we're not confused. We'll need 13 hooks because one hook will only have one ring. One hook will only have one ring. That 13th hook will only have one ring. I'll give you a second to finish writing that down, and then we're going to write down our next example. All right, we're about to go on to our next example. Example 2. Pieces of apple are shared equally among 9 children. We're going to need our highlighter. You do not have to write this one down if you don't want. 46 pieces of apple are shared equally among 9 students or children. How many pieces of apple does each child receive? Remember, it's being shared equally. So how many pieces of apple will we have left? This is a division word problem because we're being asked to share equally. Shared is another word for divide. Okay? Whenever I see that word shared, it tells me to divide. So let's draw our division home. What number is going to be my dividend?
46.
46. What number will be my divisor?
9.
9. Now, we could go through and do all of the steps, but this is a pretty easy one. 9 times what will come closest to equaling 46 without going over? 9 times what? Say it again.
5.
5. So I'm going to put my 5 here. My next step is to multiply. What two numbers am I multiplying, guys?
9 times 5.
9 times 5. And that's going to be 45 there. Then I'm going to subtract. And I have a remainder of 1. So how many pieces of apple will each child get?
1.
Where do you get 1 from, Orlando? If I'm dividing 46 pieces of apple evenly, each child will get 5 pieces of apple. So let's write our answer out. Each child receives 5 pieces of apple. We're about to go on to example 3. Remember, if Miss Neville's going too fast for you, this lesson is being recorded. Example 3. In an office, there are 8 desks. A pack of 35 sets of sticky notes needs sharing equally among the desks. How many sets of sticky notes are on each desk? So, there's some things we need to underline here. There are 8 desks. A pack of 35 sticky notes are sharing. Remember, sharing is our key word to see that tells us that we're going to be dividing. Okay? And they have to be shared equally among each of those desks. So let's get to work. We're going to draw our division house. What number is my dividend?
35.
35.
Very good. And what number is my divisor?
8.
Okay. And so let's do some division. This is just us knowing our multiplication facts. What I'm asking is 8 times what number will come closest to equaling 35 without going over?
4.
Correct. So I'm going to write my 4 above the 5 and 35. Remember, my second step is to multiply. 8 times 4 equals what?
32.
32. Then I subtract. And what is 35 minus 32?
3.
Remainder 3. So my answer here is 4 sets of sticky notes on each desk. Our last one before we get to work on our assignments for today. A plate holds 6 pieces of cake. How many full plates can be created from 74 pieces? A plate holds 6 pieces of cake. How many plates can be created from 74 pieces? So, let's draw our division house. What number is my dividend?
74.
What number is my divisor?
6.
Okay, and so let's get to work. First step, 6 times what will come closest to equaling 7 without going over? 6 times what number will come closest to equaling 7 without going over?
1.
1. So I'm going to put my 1 above the 7. 6 times 1 is 6. Third step is to subtract. What is 7 minus 6?
1.
My fourth step is to bring down my next digit. And let's divide again. Remember, division is just opposite, backwards multiplication. So what I'm really asking here when I say 14 divided by 6 is what? What I'm saying here is 6 times what number will come closest to equaling 14 without going over? What's that number going to be?
2.
2. Okay. And now let's multiply. 6 times 2 is
12.
12. 14 minus 12 is 2. I have a remainder of 2. So if we were to write this out, guys, how many plates are needed? Or how many full plates will we make? "12 full plates." 12 was my quotient here. There will be 12 full plates. All right, I'm going to go ahead and post